Neanderthals or Neanderthals UK, Neanderthal, us also, Neanderthal, theta L, were a species of human in the genus Homo which became extinct around 40,000 ago. They were closely related to modern humans, having DNA over 99.5% the same. Remains left by Neanderthals include bone and stone tools, which are found in Eurasia, from Western Europe to Central and Northern Asia and the Middle East. Neanderthals are generally classified by paleontologists as the species Homo Neanderthalensis, but a minority consider them to be a subspecies of Homo sapiens. Several cultural assemblages have been linked to the Neanderthals in Europe. The earliest, the Mousterian stone tool culture, dates to about 300,000 years ago. Late Mousterian artifacts were found in Gorham's Cave on the south-facing coast of Gibraltar. Neanderthals were large compared to Homo sapiens because they inhabited higher latitudes, in conformance with Bergmann's rule, and their larger stature explains their larger brain size because brain size generally increases with body size. With an average cranial capacity of 1,600 cc, the cranial capacity of Neanderthals is notably larger than the 1,400 cc average for modern humans, indicating that their brain size was larger. Males stood 164 to 168 centimeters and females 152 to 156 centimeters tall. The Neanderthal Genome Project published papers in 2010 and 2014 stating that Neanderthals contributed to the DNA of modern humans, including most non-Africans as well as a few African populations, through interbreeding, likely between 50,000 to 60,000 years ago. In December 2013, researchers reported evidence that Neanderthals practiced burial behavior and intentionally buried their dead. In addition, scientists reported having sequenced the entire genome of a Neanderthal for the first time. The genome was extracted from the toe bone of a 50,000-year-old Neanderthal found in a Siberian cave. Name: the species is named after one of the first sites where its fossils were discovered in the 19th century, about 12 kilometers east of Düsseldorf, Germany, in the Feldhofer Cave, located at the Dussel River's Neander Valley. Tal is the oldest spelling of the German word Tal, which means valley. Neanderthal 1 was known as the Neanderthal cranium, or Neanderthal skull, in anthropological literature, and the individual reconstructed on the basis of the skull was occasionally called the Neanderthal man. The binomial name Homo Neanderthalensis, extending the name of Neanderthal man, from the individual type specimen to the entire species, was first proposed by the Anglo-Irish geologist William King in 1864, although that same year King changed his mind and thought that the Neanderthal fossil was distinct enough from humans to warrant a separate genus. Nevertheless, King's name had priority over the proposal put forward in 1866 by Ernst Haeckel, Homo stupidus. The practice of referring to the Neanderthals and the Neanderthal emerged in the popular literature of the 1920s. The German pronunciation of Neanderthaler and Neandertaler is Neanderthal in the International Phonetic Alphabet. In British English, Neanderthal is pronounced with the T, as in German, but different vowels. In layman's American English, Neanderthal is pronounced with a, theta, and, instead of the longer British a, although scientists typically use the T, as in German. Classification. For some time, scientists have debated whether Neanderthals should be classified as Homo Neanderthalensis or Homo sapiens Neanderthalensis, the latter placing Neanderthals as a subspecies of H. sapiens. Some morphological studies support the view that H. Neanderthalensis is a separate species and not a subspecies. Others, for example University of Cambridge professor Paul Mellers, say, no evidence has been found of cultural interaction, and evidence from mitochondrial DNA studies has been interpreted as evidence Neanderthals were not a subspecies of H. sapiens. Origin. The first humans with proto-Neanderthal traits are believed to have existed in Eurasia as early as 350,000–600,000 years ago, with the first true Neanderthals appearing between 200,000 and 250,000 years ago. The exact date of their extinction had been disputed, but in 2014, a team led by Thomas Hyam of the University of Oxford used an improved radiocarbon dating technique on material from 40 archaeological sites to show that Neanderthals died out in Europe between 41,000 and 39,000 years ago. This coincides with the start of a very cold period in Europe and is 5,000 years after Homo sapiens reached the continent. Comparison of the DNA of Neanderthals and Homo sapiens suggests that they diverged from a common ancestor between 350,000 and 400,000 years ago. This ancestor was probably Homo Heidelbergensis. Heidelbergensis originated between 800,000 and 1,300,000 years ago, and continued until about 200,000 years ago. It reigned over Eastern and South Africa, Europe and Western Asia. Between 350,000 and 400,000 years ago, the African branch is thought to have started evolving towards modern humans in the Eurasian branch towards Neanderthals. Scientists do not agree when Neanderthals can first be recognized in the fossil record, with dates ranging between 200,000 and 300,000 years BP. Discovery. Neanderthal skulls were first discovered in the Engis Caves, in what is now Belgium, by Philippe Charles Schmerling and in Forbes Quarry, Gibraltar, dubbed Gibraltar 1, both prior to the type specimen discovery in a limestone quarry of the Neander Valley in Erkrath near Dusseldorf in August 1856. 3 years before Charles Darwin's On the Origin of Species was published. The type specimen, dubbed Neanderthal 1, consisted of a skull cap, 2 femora, 3 bones from the right arm, 2 from the left arm, part of the left ilium, fragments of a scapula, and ribs. The workers who recovered this material originally thought it to be the remains of a bear. They gave the material to amateur naturalist Johann Carl Fuhlrott, who turned the fossils over to anatomist Hermann Schaffhausen. To date, the bones of over 400 Neanderthals have been found. Timeline 1829. The Engis 2 Neanderthal skulls were discovered in Engis, in present-day Belgium. 1848. Neanderthal skull Gibraltar 1 found in Forbes Quarry, Gibraltar, called an ancient human at the time. 1856. Johann Carl Fuhlrott first recognized the fossil called Neanderthal man, discovered in Neanderthal, a valley near Mettmann in what is now North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany. 1864. William King proposed the name Homo Neanderthalensis at a meeting of the British Association for the Advancement of Science, but then changed his mind and argued that Neanderthals were different enough from humans to warrant a separate genus, under the assumption that they were likely incapable of moral and theocytic conceptions. 1880. The mandible of a Neanderthal child was found in a secure context and associated with cultural debris, including hearths, Mousterian tools, and bones of extinct animals. 1886. 2 nearly perfect skeletons of a man and woman were found at Spy, Belgium at the depth of 16 feet with numerous Mousterian-type implements. 1899. Hundreds of Neanderthal bones were described in stratigraphic position in association with cultural remains and extinct animal bones. 1899. Sand excavation workers found bone fragments on a hill in Krapina, Croatia called Anđakovo Brdo. Local Franciscan friar Dominik Antoković requested Dragutin Gorjanović Kramberger to study the remains of bones and teeth that were found there. 1905. During the excavation in Krapina, more than 5,000 items were found, of which 874 residue of human origin, including bones of prehistoric man and animals. Artifacts. 1908. A nearly complete Neanderthal skeleton was discovered in association with Mousterian tools and bones of extinct animals. 1925. Francis Turville petrified the Galilee Man, or Galilee skull, in the Zutia cave in Wadi Amud in the British Mandate of Palestine. 1926. Skull fragments at Gibraltar II, a 4-year-old Neanderthal girl, discovered by Dorothy Garrod. 1953–1957. Ralph Solecki uncovered 9 Neanderthal skeletons in Shanadar Cave in the Kurdistan region of northern Iraq. 1975. Eric Trinkau's study of Neanderthal feet confirmed they walked like modern humans. 1981. The Bontnewydd Paleolithic site, Wales yields the most northwestern site in Eurasia. 1987. Thermoluminescence results from Israeli fossils date Neanderthals at Kibara to 60,000 BP and humans at Kafzer to 90,000 BP. These dates were confirmed by electron spin resonance dates for Kafzer and S. School. 1991. ESR dates showed that a Boone Neanderthal was contemporaneous with modern humans from School and Kafzer. 1993. 127,000-year-old DNA is found on the child of Sklein, found in Skladina, Belgium. 1994. Neanderthal remains inadvertently uncovered inside the Sidran Cave in Pailana Municipality, Asturias, northwestern Spain. Since then the remains of at least 12 individuals, 3 men, 3 adolescent boys, 3 women, and 3 infants have been found. In 2009 Neanderthal ancient mtDNA was partially sequenced in HVR region for 3 distinct Neanderthals there. 1997. Matthias Krings al. are the first to amplify Neanderthal mitochondrial DNA using a specimen from Feldhofer Grotto in the Neander Valley. 1997–2000. During new excavations in the Neanderthal, additional bone fragments are found, some of which fit the fragments found in 1856, thus pinpointing the exact location of the original find. The exact location had previously been unknown, as the site of the find was destroyed by limestone mining. 1998. A team led by prehistory archaeologist João Zilão discovered an early Upper Paleolithic human burial in Portugal, at Abrigo do Lugar Velho, which provided evidence of early modern humans from the west of the Iberian Peninsula. The remains, a largely complete skeleton of an approximately 4-year-old child, buried with Pierce shell and red ochre, is dated to California, 24,500 years BP. The cranium, mandible, dentition, and postcrania present a mosaic of European early modern human and Neanderthal features. 2000. Igor Ovchinnikov al. retrieved mitochondrial DNA of a Neanderthal infant from Mezmaiskaya Cave in the Caucasus. 2005. The Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology launched a project to reconstruct the Neanderthal genome, working with Connecticut-based 454 Life Sciences. In 2009, the Max Planck Institute announced the first draft of a complete Neanderthal genome is completed. 2010. Comparison of Neanderthal genome with modern humans from Africa and Eurasia shows that 1 to 4% of modern non-African human genome might come from the Neanderthals. 2010. Discovery of Neanderthal tools far away from the influence of H. sapiens indicate that the species might have been able to create and evolve tools on its own, and therefore be more intelligent than previously thought. Furthermore, it was proposed that the Neanderthals might be more closely related to Homo sapiens than previously thought, and that may in fact be a subspecies of it. Evidence has more recently emerged that these artifacts are probably of H. sapiens origin. 2012. Charcoal found next to 6 paintings of seals in Nerja Caves, Malaga, Spain, has been dated to between 42,300 and 43,500 years old. José Luis Sanchidrián at the University of Córdoba. Spain believes the paintings are more likely to have been painted by Neanderthals than early modern humans. 2013. A jawbone found in Italy had features intermediate between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens, suggesting it could be a hybrid. The mitochondrial DNA is Neanderthal. 2013. An international team of researchers reported evidence that Neanderthals practiced burial behavior and intentionally buried their dead. 2014. Researchers at the University of Colorado Museum in Boulder report that Neanderthals were not less intelligent than modern humans and that single-factor explanations for the disappearance of the Neanderthals are not warranted anymore. 2014. Professor Thomas Higham of the University of Oxford performed the most comprehensive dating of Neanderthal bones and tools ever carried out, which demonstrated that Neanderthals died out in Europe between 41,000 and 39,000 years ago. This coincides with the start of a very cold period in Europe and is 5,000 years after Homo sapiens reached the continent. Habitat and range. Early Neanderthals lived in the last glacial period for a span of about 100,000 years. Because of the damaging effects the glacial period had on the Neanderthal sites, not much is known about the early species. Countries where their remains are known include most of Europe south of the line of glaciation, roughly along the 50th parallel north. This includes most of Western Europe, Central Europe, the Carpathians, and the Balkans, some sites in Ukraine and in Western Russia, Central and Northern Asia up to the Altai Mountains, and Western Asia from the Levant up to the Indus River. The Bontne with Paleolithic site at Denbighshire, North Wales is the most northwestern site of Neanderthal remains and one of the oldest remains in Britain. It is estimated that the total Neanderthal population across this habitat range numbered at around 70,000 at its peak. Neanderthal fossils have not been found to date in Africa, but there have been finds close to North Africa, both on Gibraltar and in the Levant. At some Levantine sites, Neanderthal remains date from after the same sites were vacated by modern humans. Mammal fossils of the same time period show cold-adapted animals were present alongside these Neanderthals in this region of the eastern Mediterranean. This implies Neanderthals were better adapted biologically to cold weather than modern humans and at times displaced him in parts of the Middle East when the climate got cold enough. However, this has been disputed recently through studies of their cranial morphology and sinuses. Some scholars have also posited that Neanderthals could be an Asian species which expanded into Europe, making Neanderthals a tropical species rather than cold adaptive. Homo sapiens appears to have been the only human type in the Nile River Valley during these periods, and Neanderthals are not known to have ever lived southwest of present-day Israel. When climate change caused warmer temperatures, the Neanderthal range likewise retreated to the north, along with the cold-adapted species of mammals. Apparently these weather-induced population shifts took place before modern people secured competitive advantages over the Neanderthal, as these shifts in range took place well over 10,000 years before modern people totally replaced the Neanderthal. Despite the recent evidence of some successful interbreeding, separate developments in the human line, in other regions such as southern Africa, somewhat resembled the Eurasian Neanderthals. But these people were not Neanderthals. One such example is Rhodesian man, who existed long before any classic Eurasian Neanderthals, but had a more modern set of teeth. Some H. rhodesiensis populations appeared to be on the road to modern H. sapiens. At any rate, the populations in Eurasia underwent more and more Neanderthalization as time went on. There is some argument that H. rhodesiensis in general was ancestral to both modern humans and Neanderthals, and that at some point the two populations went their separate ways. But this supposes that H. rhodesiensis goes back to around 600,000 years ago. To date, no intimate connection has been found between these similar archaic people and the Eurasian Neanderthals. at least during the same time as H. rhodesiensis seems to have lived about 600,000 years ago, long before the time of classic Neanderthals. This said, some researchers think that H. rhodesiensis may have lived much later than this period, depending on the method used to date the fossils, leaving this issue open to debate. Some H. rhodesiensis features, like the large brow ridge, may have been caused by convergent evolution. It appears incorrect, based on present research and known fossil finds, to refer to any fossils outside Eurasia as true Neanderthals. They had a known range that possibly extended as far east as the Altai Mountains, but not farther to the east or south, and apparently not into Africa. At any rate, in northeast Africa, the land immediately south of the Neanderthal range was possessed by modern humans, Homo sapiens idlechu or Homo sapiens. Since at least 160,000 years before the present, 160,000-year-old hominid fossils at Jebel Irhoud in Morocco were previously thought to be Neanderthal, but it is now clear that they are early modern humans. Classic Neanderthal fossils have been found over a large area, from northern Germany to Israel and Mediterranean countries like Spain and Italy in the south, and from England and Portugal in the west to Uzbekistan in the east. This area probably was not occupied all at the same time. The northern border of their range, in particular, would have contracted frequently with the onset of cold periods. On the other hand, the northern border of their range as represented by fossils may not be the real northern border of the area they occupied, since Middle Paleolithic-looking artifacts have been found even farther north, up to 60 degrees north, on the Russian plain. Recent evidence has extended the Neanderthal range by about 1,250 miles east into southern Siberia's Altai Mountains.